Superman issue 11, Brian Michael Bendis writing with Ivan Reis on the art. And this is Superman and John get into space to try and find Jor-El and see what all the chaos is. And I want to give credit to, I didn't actually get the tweet up to actually check who this was. But someone did tweet us after the last issue and asked us, like, hey, what about Zod in that panel? Is he working with Zar? And I looked at it and went, that does kind of look like him, but it's kind of weird how it doesn't actually address it in any way. And then this issue is like, no, here's like kind of, we don't get everything, but it's like, no, Zar is somehow talked Zod into working with him. We don't get all the details yet, but...
Yeah, but I felt here is that Zod's like, yeah, okay, I'll work with this dude, but just enough until I can turn on him. You know,
maybe,
because there's no way that the Zod that I know and understand will work with a guy that maybe had something to do with the destruction of Krypton.
Yeah, he's maybe playing the long game because we get this like day flashback where he's like, hey, let's go out.
God.
What?
Zar sitting there eating.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's the most mustache twirly he's been, and at first I was like, oh, this is terrible. And then I got to the end of that scene, I was like, oh, actually, it works because we're seeing like what an actual villain is compared to Zod. Like, as bad as Zod is, and he's trying to destroy Earth and whatever, replace it with Krypton. But like Zar is like, no, I'm gonna sit here and eat and get stronger, and you can't. And you gave me your best shot already, so work with me or die.
Yeah, he's really gloaty because he's like, I already won the fight, and you could try fighting me again, but there's no yellow sun here. Like you're not going to be getting powerful.
Which I just want to know what the hell's up with Zar that he can maintain this type of stuff in the Phantom Zone. You know, where Zod was the master of the Phantom Zone, right? He had been there forever, and whatnot. Like, but they also have a mutual enemy in Jor-El. He brings up, you know, this is Jor-El's zone. And whatnot. So, but I definitely think he's playing the long game.
Yeah, I feel like Zod, not necessarily a face turn, but he's going to turn on Zar.
Yeah. There's a mutual villain here. Yeah. You know?
So, Superman and Jor-El there, and all out war, there's the various alien races all attacking Jor-El, or they're just fighting and Jor-El's in the middle of it. It's hard to tell. Yep. And Superman's like, oh, well, I better show John how to deal with this without killing anyone. And, he swoops in. There's some great big pages of chaos and flying and
I love even more how he goes about the three different alien races there, right? You have the Thanagarians, the Kuns, and the what are they called? We finally get a name of what Gandello is. The Trillium Collective, right? And we've all seen them pop up in Supergirl and other stuff. But I just like he goes up to the Thanagarians and he's like, I said please. Like, ceasefire. It jolts him enough. The Thangarian guy, he's like, I will if they will, right? But Superman knows that's not how you deal with the Kuns. So he goes to the Kuns and he's like, no, do this or be destroyed, and I will because I'm Superman. You know, I just love seeing all that. Is you just don't go in there and start throwing punches, John. This is how you do it.
Yeah, and the book ends in the same place as Supergirl did, because basically John and Superman are kind of outnumbered, they're outgunned, Jor-El's there as well, Zar's here, like, and don't get me wrong, I loved, because the big thing in the action in this book is that while Superman's fighting Zar when Zar comes back, there's this great moment where John's left alone with Zod. For the first time ever, we see John with Zod. And John looks scared, but then you turn the page and he punches the shit out of Zod in the face, and it's really satisfying.
And Zod looks upset.
Yeah.
Like how, because at that point I was like, oh, they're working it to where it's gonna turn out that Zod's not gonna hurt him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and then you turn that page and you see him punch him. You're like, uh-oh.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's a great page look, because even after that he still feels intimidated. He still feels that John's in trouble, because every time like Clark looks over and he can't get to him, because Zod grabs John at one point, but then he tries to fly away, but Rogol Zod grabs him. He can't get to him.
Yep.
And chaos is happening. But it's basically at this moment we get the final page, which is the mirror of the Supergirl book, where Supergirl is riding up with the axe on the ground with Krypto.
Yep.
So now the whole family's together to fight as one. So
you could say they're united.
Yeah, it's a neat little crossover coming up here. So
it should be fun.
Yeah, no,
art's decent. I like Ivan Reis, but the more I see, I think it's good, but I feel like he hasn't been at his best with Superman. Maybe it's the inking
Sure.
or
I think
something.
it's solid. I think the art's
Yeah.
good. But it definitely is maybe being outshone a little bit with Action
Yeah.
Comics right now, just to compare it.
That might be it too.
But even in story, I think Action Comics is the better book. But I
Yeah.
think Superman's actually still been really solid.
Yeah.
And I think the stuff with John and Zod was probably my favorite stuff. And then I think the cliffhanger with Supergirl, had this book been first out, but I liked it at the end of the Supergirl as well. So either way, the other one was going to negatively impact the other's cliffhanger because it's like the same thing we already kind of had, just reversed. But it's nice they both ended that way, so that next month we get the little crossover. And
I mean, my only problem with that is in Supergirl, you see her being greeted by John and Cal, right? Here, she's coming in full war. So.
Yeah, I assume that just means that by the time she actually gets up top.
Right. I mean, just a little bit of continuity wonkery, but not too much. So.
Yeah, just a little bit. No, it was solid though. What are you giving Superman?
I'm gonna give this 7.5.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I was into it. I think the teasing of John and Zod, and more specifically, I think Superman realizing that John's with Zod and not being able to get to him was a really kind of thrilling moment. So.
Well, it makes me think too that you think, oh, Zod, that this is another Kryptonian, but then you remember, oh no, John's not. He's half.
Yeah.
So how would that make Zod feel? You know, is this promise of like Krypton and Earth can be unified, right? Like we can continue the dream of Krypton, or is he gonna be like, oh no, he's a filthy half breed?
Yeah,
you
maybe.
know, like
I wonder if we pull a trick at some point where kryptonite only affects John half as much.
Maybe when he reaches full like maturity. You know, or because I always thought that it's like, so Clark wasn't born under a yellow sun, right? He just gets power from there. But how would that affect John differently? Being that he was, like, we're gonna say that he was, because what was that? Superman Reborn went and retconned a bunch of the stuff that he was born in the fortress. Like Batman and Wonder Woman, they were attending to Lois. So if he's born under a yellow sun, does that make him a little bit more powerful? Or what? So.
I wouldn't have thought so, given that Clark was not very old when he was under. There's not that much extra time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the human DNA makes it dampens it a little bit more. Like Pete's saying, it only affects his Kryptonian half. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Or makes him stronger, because that was why the thing in Super Sons, right, is that John will actually be stronger ultimately because he's a mix of human and Kryptonian.
Right.